Thank you, Bill. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here again this year. It's great to see a couple of familiar faces, and shout out to everybody watching me, I guess, on YouTube right now. I've got a bet with Bill that I can get 10,000 viewers in the next 2 weeks on YouTube. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with the world out there. So this is my second time back at the AUSA Innovation Corner. Check 1, 2. Are we sounding good? Okay, perfect. So this is my second time back at the Innovation Corner. The first time I came back, during my first presentation, I had the pleasure of following the ref, and I had some observations that I'll recap and share with you. And then I want to talk just briefly about observations in innovation. And in doing that, I'm going to share with you what I call my secret sauce. I've been doing this for about 8 years now, working with the government, and I found a couple of commonalities, some things that really work when trying to work with the government. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about a new product that I'm very excited to be part of, a company called Nano Global, and I look forward to sharing a little bit about that with you. So last year I had a chance to speak at the AUSA conference, and I followed the ref, and there was a great group in the audience. There was about 60 people sitting in the audience. Everybody was taking notes frantically, making sure they captured every word that the ref said. And my observation was that there was, part of the innovation cycle, you needed to have some level of a demand, that there was somebody out there that was interested, and everybody looked at the ref at that point. And here down at AUSA, we're looking at the team in Huntsville and a lot of different program managers, and whenever they're speaking, everybody's listening very intently. And then the second element that I said back then, let's see if this works. The second element that I said was that there needed to be opportunity. And this is a presentation or a slide from a presentation that I saw a couple of years ago that was given at the DIA, and it looked at specifically population growth over the next 35 years. Today our population is about 6 billion. In the next 35 years it's going to grow to 10 billion. And what does that mean? And I looked at it as a crystal ball, because I saw all sorts of things that needed to happen if we were going to be able to sustain that population growth. What was going to happen to critical infrastructure? What was going to happen to sanitation, housing, food, global climate? And we're seeing that happen now as we see refugees fleeing from Syria and from Africa into Europe. How are we dealing with those problems? And my thought was that the solution was going to be companies and industry coming up with innovative solutions to those hard problems. I left out a key part. I'd been talking to a bunch of people recently and thinking a lot about innovation. But the key part that I think I left out was a group of people that had great purpose, that had meaning. So now I've kind of recalculated, and I said there's 3 components to innovation. A demand, an opportunity, and a group of people that have purpose. I was chatting with a guy. It's interesting, when you tell somebody, on an airplane that you're getting ready to go to AUSA and give a presentation on innovation. And I said this to 2 or 3 people in the last couple of days. Everybody's got a story on innovation. And this has nothing necessarily to do with the presentation, but I thought it was an interesting concept that he shared with me. And he told me about a group of guys in the early 70s that wanted to get into mountain biking. And they started to ride their bikes down this hill, and they were breaking bike after bike after bike. So they started to get innovative. They started to get resourceful. And I think that's a key word, that all innovators, scientists, they have to be resourceful. And they started to put shocks and larger tires on it. Well, the industry didn't catch up to them overnight. They started doing this in the early 70s. And it wasn't until the late 70s, early 80s that the larger bike manufacturers started to really look at this as an opportunity. So my message here is, and I think we've seen it, in presentations previous, where a lot of companies come up and they say, innovate or die. And I think that's key for a small company that's growing. You got to innovate or die. But the problem is that innovation and acceptance doesn't happen overnight. And that is a challenge that, as small companies that we have to work through. So I thought before I told you about this new product, I'd take a split second to talk about this formula. And so I retired. I spent 21 years in the Navy. I was with the SEAL teams. I had an amazing career during that 21 years. And during that, I met a couple of great mentors that when I got out, they helped me start a consulting company. And we've had the pleasure of working with a lot of different companies over the last 8 years. And we've come up with this basic formula that I'm going to chat with and share with you just for a split second. And then I'll jump into the company that I'm really excited to be part of. But the formula basically, we call it the iron hexagon. And every company that we've ever met has elements of this formula. In the top left-hand corner, you see performance and value. You have to start with performance. It's got to perform. It's got to provide a capability. It's got to be a good value for the people that are buying it. But you don't get very far working with the government unless there's a requirement out there. And the requirement, in one hand, is one of the barriers to innovation, because requirement generation takes a period of time for it to happen. It doesn't happen overnight. Often requirements, take years to be fully developed. And thankfully, in the mitigating piece of this, if you think about it for a moment, are organizations like Rapid Research Technology Office, like the REF, that have streamlined acquisition processes that allow for the purchase of gear more rapidly and getting it into the field for the operators to use. But the requirement is a barrier and a challenge. I'm going to save the next one, relationship, for a split second, because it's really the piece that I think is the key piece. Companies that, past performance is another key piece, because you have to mitigate the risk to the contracting officer. You have to inspire that confidence in the contracting officer. And there's a lot of ways to get around that by teaming with other companies and working with larger companies to mitigate some of that risk. A contracting vehicle, or a vehicle in place to utilize, is often a challenging spot. But the money, for the government to spend money, they have to have a mechanism to spend that money on. And that's a piece that has to be worked out as well with the government. And then the last piece of this being relationship. And I think relationship is the key part of this. And it's not just a relationship with a single person. You have to look across the board, and what we have found, there's three key people, and those three key people don't necessarily talk to one another all of the time. And that's, an end user, somebody that's willing to jump up and down, somebody that has a problem, somebody that has demand or need for something. It's an acquisition specialist, somebody in the program office that can actually utilize contract, create requirements, and build a vehicle around the product. And lastly, it's somebody in leadership that has the ability to make a decision and direct the action to happen. And those three people, that end user, that acquisition specialist, that leader, don't necessarily always talk to one another. So the key is to try to drive them together. And when you can create that iron hexagon, and you're doing really well on each one of those elements, and you've created that relationship, we've seen a lot of success working with a lot of different companies, navigating, if you can call it, the military or the Department of Defense acquisition process. So today I'm really here to talk about a new company, a company that I'm extremely excited to be part of. Last year they asked me to become the vice president of it. It's called Nano Global. Nano Global, through the emergence of nanotechnology, is looking to heal the world. Microorganisms exist throughout the world. If you look at statistics in U.S. hospitals alone, 1.7 million infections are caused in U.S. hospitals. It costs an average, somewhere between, statistics are different, between $5 and $11 million to deal with those. And there's solutions that are out there, but we believe that we have the one true solution that provides not just the killing of the microorganism, but prolonged activation on just about every substrate that's out there. Over the last 7 years, we've managed to get 3 different patents on this product line, along with FDA and EPA approval. We just recently got EPA Category 4 approval, which is basically there's no warning labels on it at all anymore. Historically, we had Category 3, which were the warning labels associated with hands and eyes, or digestion in eyes, and we no longer have that warning label, is no longer required in Category 4. And we look at this, we really looked at this commercially across multiple different areas, but anywhere that you have large populations together, hospitals, obviously, the hospitality industry to include cruise liners and aircraft, Navy ships where you have large populations together, bases, and especially expeditionary bases where you're sharing restroom facilities, lots of people eating in the same the same area, and really pushing through a lot of different folks, as well as the sports and major events in the food industry as well. So how does it work? It's a nanotechnology that kills the microorganism. So there's a little bit of an I believe pill that you have to take when you're thinking about this, but it works. The 3 major components are sealing base, which when applied, it's applied wet, it's sprayed onto the surface, whether it's hands or skin or just about any substrate that's out there. And once it dries on the surface, so the key is that it has to dry on the surface, it creates a bond on the surface. It's a polymer monolayer bond that's non-leaching. It's about 40 to 60 angstroms high, and once it's bonded, it'll last on skin for about 24 hours. On most other surfaces, it'll last up to 14 days, is what we advertise. The key is, though, that you have to do routine cleaning when you're using the product, because you will get bio-loading in certain key areas that has to be cleaned up so that the product will work as advertised. And the way it basically works is in that nano space, the microbe or the pathogen is pulled into the long molecular chain and pulled down to the nitrogen, and the nitrogen acts as a barb. There's trillions of these barbs on the surface after the coating dries, and it kills the bacteria. Let's see if we, excuse me, I've got a slight technical difficulty I'm looking through. Oh, there it goes. And here you see a long list of the material or the pathogens that we're extremely effective against. There's an even longer list available on our website at nanoglobalcorp.com. And we have 3 major products that we've released now, and the last one is the one that I'm most excited about. We currently have testing ongoing right now with Naval Health Research Center. We're getting ready to start some testing with Naval Research Laboratories. I'm looking for some partnership with USAMRIID as well at this present time. But the first product is the hand product, and it's a 0.5% active ingredient of the ambisol. Once it's applied to your skin, as I mentioned before, and it dries on your skin, you have a bond to your skin. You can't feel it, you can't smell it, but it's there, and it lasts about 24 hours. Your skin cells are larger than the bond itself, or the nanomaterial, so as your skin cells shed, you end up losing the material, and it's after about 24 hours, estimates are you have about 25% loss of skin cells, so you still have enough coverage to have that successful bond against the majority of those pathogens, and all the pathogens that are listed here, plus some many more. On skin or surface product that you see on the bottom there, that's applied in the same way. Once it dries on the substrate, it gives you 14 days. In testing, we've actually seen that last significantly longer than 14 days, and we're very excited about that. The last product the product that we're coming out with that I'm most excited about is a water filtration system. And you can see a picture of it there, but think of it as a sponge-like material. We're able to coat that sponge-like material with the active ingredient of ambisol. And when that sponge-like material is in contact with the water, so imagine your Camelback, the sponge would be inside. It would take up about 1.5% to 2% of your water volume. but after about 10 minutes of contact, you effectively kill all pathogens that are known to us right now to a log 5. So about 10 minutes of contact, you've killed all pathogens to a log 5, and the water might not necessarily smell great, but it is absolutely drinkable. That we're currently in testing right now with the Army through USAMRIID. It's a protocol, TB Med 577 P248 protocol, and that testing is ongoing as we speak, and we look forward to those results in the very near future and really revolutionizing the way that we look at drinking water in the field tomorrow. We're also coming out with new products on a regular basis, air filters and other filtering solutions as well. And we're doing a lot of experimenting with clothing as well as in wash cycles. How do you wash using the Nano and killing any of the active pathogens that might be on the dirty clothes prior to the washing. So right now we're in the process of commercializing this product. In the United States, you'll see it in Kroger stores, you'll see it in CVS. We're going to be in Walgreens later this year. Internationally, we're working through some major other distributors, as well as in partnership and collaboration with some various paint companies, specifically in Asia, utilizing this as a coating within the paint for sustained antimicrobial activity in walls and other surfaces. We're also working with other coating companies as well. We're working in partnership with some other large cleaning companies. As I mentioned, we have some ongoing testing right now with Naval Health Research Center, as well as NRL, and we're looking, as well as the P248 testing. We're looking for some partnerships, both from an industry partnership for where we can make this an additive into various other products. Also looking for other testing through laboratories, the service laboratories through USAMRIID and Fort Detrick guys, where we want to test this against other pathogens and microbials that we haven't yet. We believe that we would be very effective against Ebola. It's an envelope virus, and we've been very effective against other envelope viruses. But as you can guess, capturing some of the Ebola protein to test this against is not an easy task, and we need a specialty organization to assist us in testing that. So we're looking for those partnerships and teaming opportunities to further the list of pathogens that we're effective against. We're also working with some neat, I guess neat's not the right word, but some unique sensor technologies as well. We've recently just hired a CTO, and we're working with some unique companies that do some nano sensor technology, and the ability to identify bacterial, fungus, viral growth as it happens, so that we can create a cleaning on demand scenario. Is the direction that we're moving. We're also using some other cellular phone technologies and applications to be able to identify that bio-loading or microbial buildup, and through your cellular phone when you go into a new location, and be able to find those microbials and be able to deal with them immediately. So we're super excited about this product and the direction that it's going. We really truly believe that it has the capability, when you look at infection rates growing, when you look at populations growing, when you look at sanitation that can't keep up with the growth that we have in the world right now, as an innovative solution that has the potential, when you look at refugees collecting water, or third world countries collecting water, to truly change the world, to truly potentially heal the world in a way. So it's a company that I'm very proud to be part of, and I really appreciate the opportunity that Bill Garland and the team here at AUSA has afforded in allowing me to speak once again on this subject. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to take them at this time.
So Jeff, I kind of always ask the first question. You spent the first half of your presentation talking about secrets of success. You told me about successful technology. Can you elaborate just a little bit on, are we calling Nano Global a success? And what were part of your trade secrets that made that a success?
Thank you. And it's a new product, so really introducing it now. Commercially, we're starting to see significant success. But I think if you go back to the beginning of my slide, where I talked about the three elements that were really needed to have an innovative success, you had to have demand. Somebody out there in the audience, somebody out there in the world that says, we have a challenge out there, which ties into the opportunity to fix that challenge. And then a group of people with purpose that are driven with a solution to fix that. So with demand, opportunity, and purpose, we have that formula, and we're really seeing that demand growing. Initially, we're seeing it grow, and I think as expected commercially. When you look at new moms and households, and then you look at large sporting events, you look at hospital infection rates, we're really seeing that demand start commercially. We're actually starting to see it over in Asia, and I think that might have to do with the population growth is more rapid over there. They're more concerned about finding a solution to this requirement, but we're seeing it catch up quickly as well in the United States, in the Middle East, as well as in India. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead. Please use the microphone.
Hey Jeff, that was a great discussion. Actually, I think this is an awesome product. I see so many applications for this as you're talking about it commercially. When it comes to applying it to textiles, paint, everyday use things, applications, what are some of the requirements when it comes to surface preparation to apply it so that way it's well adhered, it stays on, what are some of the protocols required for the Amosol Q, for it to be applied so it sticks well adhered and it lasts longer?
That is a great question, and I appreciate it. Luckily, I have a lot of smart engineers that work for the company that can answer that question probably better than me. But as I mentioned before, it really needs to start with a clean surface so you can get that uniform bond. So the trick is, initially cleaning the surface, removing any debris from it, and then getting that uniform bond. Most substrates will accept a single coating of it. Some substrates like Teflon and glass like two coatings when you're applying it. But once it's coated, and we haven't found a substrate, with the exception of Teflon, which is a little bit tricky, we're getting solid log 5 reductions long beyond the 14 days, which is what we use as the reapply kind of protocol. Well, thank you very much, and once again, AUSA, I appreciate the opportunity to speak here again. And for the folks in the audience, if we can assist you with battling antimicrobial and microorganisms, please say hello to me afterwards. And lastly, still looking for partnerships in testing against some of those level 5 viruses and pathogens that are more difficult to get a hold of. We truly feel that we'd be very effective against those, and looking for those testing opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. And just remind everybody, Jeff is looking for 10,000 hits on YouTube.
Yes, I have a staked in